Captain Hardcastle, from Boy, Tales of Childhood by Roald Dahl. We called them masters in those days, not teachers. And at St. Peter's, the one I feared most of all, apart from the headmaster, was Captain Hardcastle. This man was slim and wiry, and he played football. On the football field, he wore white running shorts and white gym shoes and short white socks. His legs were as hard and thin as ram's legs, and the skin around his calves was almost exactly the same colour as mutton fat. The hair on his head was not ginger. It was brilliant, dark vermilion. It was, in fact, like a ripe orange, and it was plastered back with immense quantities of brilliantined, in the same fashion as the headmaster's. The parting in his hair was a white line straight down the middle of his scalp, so straight it could only have been made with a ruler. On either side of the parting you could see the comb tracks running back through the greasy orange hair like little tram lines. Captain Hardcastle sported a moustache that was the same colour as his hair, and oh, what a moustache it was. A truly terrifying sight, a thick orange hedge that sprouted and flourished between his nose and his upper lip and ran clear across his face from the middle of one cheek to the middle of the other. But this was not one of those nail brush moustaches, all short and clipped and bristly, nor was it long and droopy in the walrus style. Instead, it was curled most splendidly upwards all the way along, as though it had had a permanent wave put into it, or possibly curling tongs heated in the mornings over a tiny flame of methylated spirits. The only other way he could have achieved this curling effect, we boys decided, was by prolonged upward brushing with a hard toothbrush in front of the looking glass every morning. Behind the moustache there lived an inflamed and savage face with a deeply corrugated brow that indicated a very limited intelligence. Life is a puzzlement, the corrugated brow seemed to be saying, and the world is a dangerous place. All men are enemies, and small boys are insects that will turn and bite you if you don't get them first and squash them hard. Captain Hardcastle was never still. His orange head twitched almost and perpetually and jerked from side to side in the most alarming fashion. And each twitch was accompanied by a little grunt that came out of his nostrils. He had been a soldier in the army in the Great War, and that, of course, was how he had received his title. But even small insects like us knew that captain was not a very exalted rank, and only a man with little else to boast about would have hung on to it in civilian life. It was bad enough to keep calling yourself major after it was all over, but captain was the bottoms. Rumour had it that the constant twitching and jerking and snorting was caused by something called shell shock, but we were not quite sure what that was. We took it to mean that an explosive object had gone off very close to him with such an enormous bang that it had made him jump high in the air, and he hadn't stopped jumping since. For a reason that I could never properly understand, Captain Hardcastle had it in for me from my very first day at St. Peter's Prep School, aged 9. Perhaps it was because he taught Latin and I was no good at it. Perhaps it was because already at the age of 9 I was very nearly as tall as he was. Or even more likely, it was because I took an instant dislike to his giant orange moustache, and he often caught me staring at it with what was probably a little sneer under the nose. I had only to pass within 10 feet of him in the corridor, and he would glare at me and shout, "Hold yourself straight, boy! Pull your shoulders back! or "Take those hands out of your pockets," or "What's so funny, may I ask? What are you smirking at?" Or most insulting of all, "You! What's your name? Get on with your work." I knew, therefore, that it was only a matter of time before the gallant captain nailed me good and proper. The crunch came during my second term, when I was exactly 9.5, and it happened during evening prep. Every weekday evening the whole school would sit for 1 hour in the main hall between 6 and 7 o'clock to do prep. The master on duty for the week would be in charge of prep, which meant that he sat high up on a dais at the top end of the hall and kept order. Some masters read a book while taking prep, and some corrected exercises, but not Captain Hardcastle. He would sit up there on the dais, twitching and grunting, and never once would he look down at his desk. His small, milky blue eyes would rove the hall for the full 60 minutes, searching for trouble, and heaven help the boy who caused it. The rules of prep were simple but strict. You were forbidden to look up from your work, and you were forbidden to talk. That was all there was to it, but it left you precious little leeway. In extreme circumstances, and I never knew what these were, you could put your hand up and wait until you were asked to speak, but you had better be awfully sure that the circumstances were extreme. Only twice during my 4 years at St. Peter's did I see a boy putting up his hand during prep. The first one went like this. "What is it?" "Please, sir, may I be excused to go to the lavatory?" "Certainly not. You should have gone before." But sir, please, sir, I didn't want to go before. I didn't know." "Whose fault was that? Get on with your work." "But sir, oh sir, please, sir, let me go." "One more word out of you and you'll be in trouble." Naturally, the poor boy dirtied his pants, which caused a storm later on upstairs with the matron. On the second occasion, I remember clearly that it was a summer term, and the boy who put his hand up was called Braithwaite. I also seem to recall that the master taking prep was our friend Captain Hardcastle. The dialogue went something like this. "Yes, what is it?" "Please, sir, a wasp came in through the window and it stung me on my lip and it's swelling up." "A what?" A wasp, sir." "Speak up, boy, I can't hear you. A what came in through the window?" "It's hard to speak up, sir, with my lip all swelling up." "With your what all swelling up? Are you trying to be funny?" "No, sir, I promise I'm not, sir." "Talk properly, boy. What's the matter with you?" "I've told you, sir. I've been stung. My lip is swelling. It's hurting terribly." "Hurting terribly? What's hurting terribly?" "My lip, sir. It's getting bigger and bigger." "What prep are you doing tonight?" "French verbs, sir. We have to write them out." "Do you write with your lip?" "No, sir, I don't, sir, but you see, all I see is that you're making an infernal noise and disturbing everybody in the room. Now, get on with your work."